get a date and I don't have anything on my calendar, what did I do wrong? It's all gone.
Does anyone else have access to the calendar other than you?
Okay.
No, but it should be on my phone. There's something I pressed. I should have all my events.
Right.
Excuse me.
You gotta hit that out loud.
Order, please. Order.
Gavel.
You gotta hit that
Slam
out.
that gavel.
The Tuesday, November 12th deliberative meeting is now called to order. Mr. Moore? We all ready?
Yes.
Okay, you read, oh, Mr. Solicitor, I'm sorry.
Thank you, Your Honor, members of council, members of the public. Welcome to the Tuesday, November 12th, 2024 deliberative meeting for the city of Chester. There are no ordinances. The following resolutions will be before council for final passage. Resolution 107, to authorize approval for the installation of a handicap parking zones in 2500 block of West 6th Street, in the 1300 block of Renshaw Road, in the 500 block of West 5th Street, in the 200 block of Booth Street, in the 2800 block of West 10th Street, and in the 400 block of Penn Street. Resolution 108, authorize the appointment of W. Paul Fritz as the zoning officer for the city of Chester. Said appointment shall be in addition to his current position as Director of Planning and Zoning with no additional compensation. Resolution 109, authorize the appointment of Kim Pinder-Garner as the Deputy Zoning Officer for the city of Chester to perform in the absence or inability of the zoning officer. Said appointment shall be in addition to her current duties and responsibilities as the Assistant Planner / Zoning Supervisor with no additional compensation. Resolution 110, authorize the transfer of Alfred Sargent Jr. from the position of Zoning Officer to the position of Zoning Enforcement Officer for the city of Chester. Said duties shall be determined by the zoning officer at the salary range as provided in the annual appropriation ordinance.
Excuse me, Mr. Solicitor. I'd like to have a correction made in the name of Alfred Sargent. It's S-A-R-G-E-N-T. Take the A out.
So noted. Thank you. Resolution 111, authorize the award of the route optimization study for trash collection and street cleaning to MSW Consultants in the amount of $57,000. Resolution 112, authorize the award of the traffic signal installation project at the intersection of Route 291 and the Route 322 off-ramp to Lenai Electric Corporation in an amount not to exceed $62,776.30. Resolution 113, to authorize the approval of an agreement with Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission, DVRPC, to accept grant funds with no local match in the amount of $10,000 for project number 2553306 for the region-wide transportation geographic information systems as part of the DVRPC's fiscal year 2025 Unified Planning Work Program, effective July 1st, 2024, with a work completion date no later than June 30th, 2025. Resolution 114, authorize the proper city official to submit an application to Municipal Opportunities for Retrofits and Energy Efficiency, parentheses, M-O-R-E, end parentheses, grant, for an amount not to exceed $50,000 from the Commonwealth Department of Environmental Protection to be used for an energy audit of municipal properties owned and maintained by the city of Chester. Resolution 115, authorize the request for a statewide local share assessment grant not to exceed $1 million from the Commonwealth Financing Authority to be used to upgrade damaged and inoperable vehicles in the following departments: license and inspections, police, parks, and public works. And finally, Resolution 116, authorize the termination of the Chester Parking Authority and also authorize the mayor to execute any documents required by the Pennsylvania Department of State to accomplish the termination of the authority. That would conclude the agenda for today's deliberative meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Solicitor. Council, does anyone from council have any questions?
The 116, the termination of the Chester Parking Authority. I know you spoke about it in the email, but can you give us a little more insight on that and where we are legally with that, and then what happens next in terms of the Parking Authority Board or lack thereof, or now who's going to oversee the, you know, what does that look like?
Yeah, as you know, the Chester Parking Authority exists. It has existed for quite some time, but it largely exists as what I would consider a paper authority. You do have appointed board members. The board members haven't met in quite some time. Chester Parking Authority doesn't have any staff. It doesn't have a solicitor. It doesn't have an executive manager. It doesn't have any resources. It has some parcels that are titled to the Chester Parking Authority, several parking lots, for example. I'm a bit concerned that those parcels may not have insurance because obviously the Chester Parking Authority doesn't have resources to insure them. So if you dissolve the Chester Parking Authority, any assets and liabilities revert back to the city of Chester in this case. You have premium parking service, which previously you had entered into an agreement with premium parking. That was an agreement between the city of Chester and premium parking. A lot of the parking management services are managed by the premium parking contract. So that doesn't change. In fact, this streamlines it a little bit because what will basically be happening is the city of Chester will be working with premium parking to implement all of the requirements for that agreement. It's really not a role for the Chester Parking Authority in that. So this just streamlines the process and just removes an authority which exists on paper, but that's the only method that it really exists on, just on paper.
Just one addition. Presuming we dissolve the authority, which we're proceeding to do, we will need to take a little bit of a dive into the ordinances, which I believe authorize the parking authority to really regulate parking, and we'll need to revise them to authorize the city to regulate parking.
Yeah, I think there's sections of the traffic code that specifically reference the Chester Parking Authority or its agents. If the agents is the city of Chester making the agent the premium parking contract or referencing the premium parking agreement, I think that would be the city's agent to administer anything related to the traffic code.
Should that be done before we vote on this on when, tomorrow?
I don't think so. I think that until it's technically dissolved and reverts back to the city, I don't think we should amend them because it still needs to be technically under the auspices of the parking authority.
So we can move forward with the
Yes,
resolution.
my recommendation would be to move forward.
Okay.
And so I know earlier this year, we appointed a number of people to the Parking Authority. And so you said that the Parking Authority don't have any staff, don't have any solicitor, don't have an executive director. So is it that we have not reached out to any of the board members to form a board meeting? So is this also in part somewhat on the city's fault as well, since we have not established or haven't met with the current appointed board to even make some efforts to meet?
There have been efforts by representatives of the city to reach out to the Chester Parking Authority to convene a meeting. Those have not been successful. I'll just leave it at that.
In other words, they've been non-responsive.
It's one way to say it, yes.
Okay. And so legally, the city can just dissolve the authority. Is that right, Ken?
Well, there's a procedure to follow, which the city will follow, but yes.
Okay, well, let me hear the procedure.
The procedure would be, there's a couple ways to do it. One could be for the authority itself to file a certificate of dissolution and agree to dissolve. And another way could be for the city as the entity which forms the authority to dissolve it, which is the procedure we're following now with this dissolution resolution.
Okay. Okay, so we're gonna do it by order of resolution.
The authority was recent, you know, for years, the authority was in place. Then it was about 7 or so years ago dissolved. The city's already done this procedure once before, and then it was, when we started to regulate parking again, it was reinstated more recently. So we're following the same procedure that we followed last time to dissolve it.
Okay. Thank you. No, go ahead.
So I have a question about resolution 111 and 112. Can you just explain both of those to me?
111 is the route optimization study for trash collection. I think that's something that's being paid for by ARPA funds. That's to evaluate the entire city from optimizing the routes for garbage pickup and also for street cleaning. This is in anticipation of your, I think your contract with JP Mascara expires at the end of 2025. So part of this would be to evaluate what's the most effective and efficient way to pick up garbage and trash throughout the city. 112, I don't have any details on that other than it's a traffic signal that's being installed at 291 and Route 322 where the off-ramps are, coming off of 95 and then you're coming off of the ramps. That's what that incorporates, basically putting in a traffic signal at that particular location.
Okay, and where's that $62,776.30 coming from?
I'll have to get back to you on that. I'll get back to you before Wednesday on that. There you are, Lisa.
There's a grant that we had, we have an Arlie grant from PennDOT, automated red light enforcement grant, so, city has to come up with 20% of the match. That's what's coming from the grant.
So you have to only come up with 20% of the 62,000?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
If I'm not mistaken, Councilman, I believe it's going to go to 291 in Jeffrey, correct, please? 291 in Jeffrey.
We've had a lot of accidents there, including some big problems recently, so.
Correct.
Oh, okay, sounds
You guys
good.
are putting the light there?
Correct.
So getting off the highway, off the ramp, and, coming and going?
So basically, we had an issue where, like, we've had a lot of fatalities. If you ride on 291, look at the speed limit, and then you see how speeding the fatalities. But also, even during the games for the soccer stadium, you're always posting with an officer, which is kind of unsafe. To speed traffic up, putting the light there is going to make it traffic run more smoothly.
Okay. Now, with the traffic at Flower Street being so close, is that going to be an issue? Because that's really close.
I think it's more for controlling the traffic that's coming off the bridge. They are close within distance, it's only a couple blocks. Like I said, I think it's going to make it a lot easier and make 291 a lot safer.
And PennDOT has reviewed all of that, so PennDOt will protect those merchants and the impact of traffic. Believe me, PennDOt has a lot of analysis to do that.
You coordinate the timing of the signals between those intersections to make it, make it more consistent with green light, red light, red light. So
Yeah,
the engineer can handle
Okay.
that.
Also, can we, just for confirmation's sake, is the $57,000 from resolution 111 coming from ARPA?
That is not coming from ARPA. Rich just corrected me. That is actually coming from the general fund, but with the solid waste, the garbage fee that's levied on the property tax bills, is coming out of those funds. Correct, Rich?
Yeah, the expectation is that it will stay in the city money. Therefore, the residents the rubbish fee.
Is that, let me find a way to ask this question. Can the city afford to pay our subcontracted trash pickup service another fee just to do a study on the trash they already pick up? Like, why are we paying them again to pick up trash that they're already going around picking up? Just to do a study on the trash?
I don't think this is so much for the existing vendor. I think this is in anticipation of
For a new
putting out something for
Okay.
bid for next. I feel like I'm CD Lamb looking into stadium, this is more for the next contract that you're going to have to optimize how you put that out for bid.
Okay, and can the city?
And there's also a street cleaning component of that as well, so
That the streets will be cleaned during this component, is that what you're saying?
this would be a recommendation as to how the most effective way, efficient way to clean the streets.
Okay, so I'm understanding, now I have a better understanding of what's going on. So now I guess my upfront question is, can the city afford a $60,000 study on trash and cleanup from our general fund that we already have a problem budgeting now? Like that?
We are,
that seems
we are,
like those-
we are close to 6 weeks to the end of the fiscal year, and we're doing okay.
Okay.
I think we hitting the surplus, they said, this year.
Don't get too excited. It ain't that much of a surplus.
I'm just asking these
Rich been
questions.
saving us some money.
These questions about this money come up, Mr. Moore. I'm coming to you and Rich. All right.
Are there any more questions from council? What about our directors? Any questions, comments?
I have one last question, Councilman.
Oh, okay.
In regards to resolution 108 and 109, it says, said appointment shall be in addition to her, in regards to 109, Ms. Kim Pender Gardner, current duties and responsibilities as assistant planner / zoning supervisor with no additional compensation. So, Ms. Garner as well as Mr. Fritz, do you all know the additional work that you're going to be taking on as this resolution speaks to?
Essentially, it's not additional work, it's actually work we're doing, it's crossing the T's and dotting the I's, just need to identify officially with the zoning enforcement. It's something that just needs to be on record. So when we put out violation notices or other correspondence, it's clear. So it's not additional.
Okay, thank you. Just like anybody, right. Gotcha. Okay, thank you both very much. Just like anybody else I was asking, I seen additional work with no compensation, so I just wanted to know if you were comfortable with it or not.
Also, Paul, on resolution 113, to accept the $10,000 grant funds, what exactly is that going to be used for?
It's an annual contract, which I believe is been with the city since they signed up for GIS. And what it does, it gives the city some leeway to work on specific, mostly transportation-related projects using GIS. And this is actually funded by PennDOT, the DRPC, but they give a lot of leeway on what the money is used for. Even if you want to use it for sub-consultants, do a specific project, let's just say, rather trail corridor concepts. It has to be GIS based, but there's a lot of flexibility.
Okay.
That's-
Say that again?
Question,
It says project number 25-53-306.
That's the contract number one, DRPC to the city of Chester.
Contract number, not a project.
Yeah, contract.
That's a grant agreement contract number. This is on, sign, should it say project or should it say contract?
It's probably because DRPC calls it a project program.
Okay.
Just pull that number for resolution.
It's the project, this, but I guess I can understand it.
so there was a question about resolution 113, whether or not that 25-53-306 should be called project number, project, or contract. You say it's contract, Paul, and what they're saying here in writing is a project number. So that's DVRPC's term, that it's a project number.
That's their term.
Okay.
But I mean, for the resolution thing, I don't know, Paul,
You can go through it.
whatever reads better on the record.
Are there any more questions from members of council?
No, ma'am.
Any questions or comments from chief of staff?
I think we're good.
Any questions or comments from any of our directors?
Go ahead, Councilman. I didn't want to cut you off, but
You have a question?
I wanted to see if we wanted to ask questions in regards to the Hometown Heroes Initiative and the announcement tomorrow. But that was a question more so for me, Justin, and legal, so it doesn't have to be answered here. That's why
Okay.
I was trying to whisper it, but I apologize, I was kind of loud.
Okay, all right. And then I just want to announce that council is going to go into an executive session with our solicitor, Mr. Schuster, right after this meeting. So if there are no more questions, what, Candace? Okay. Okay, not on record. Okay. Well, our deliberative meeting is now concluded.